Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. Okay, picture with me a therapist's office. These are the places that are carefully curated, carefully crafted. You walk in and it's like the perfect tone of gray. There's enough sound that you're able to experience peace and quiet. There's like a scent, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if they have the perfect amount of diffusion or if they've just got a simple Glade plug-in, but there's something about it. I have several friends who have therapy offices. When I go visit, when I stop in, I just feel a calm. And then you walk into one of the individual offices where you're going to share your stuff, right? And there's still just this sense of peace. There's a couch that looks very comfortable, but again, not too comfortable. And it's the right color. Like the color scheme isn't too drab or boring. It's the perfect amount of color to make you feel safe, to make you feel quiet. And yet as you start talking to your therapist, you realize the atmosphere is giving you that feeling, but everything inside of you is not quiet. We felt this. And as we share and as we talk and this starts to build up and come out, what if your therapist pointed to the corner and said, grab a bat or a racket. Pick your poison. You're kind of like, wait, what? Yeah, and then beat on that couch, the comfortable couch, the cushions, just pound on it for a while. Take all of that anger and do something with it. See, oftentimes in our faith, we expect that if we have ultimate faith, if we really trust God, we should never experience that rage inside of us. And it's just not true. In his book, More Than You Can Handle, Nate Pyles talks about the fact that there are times in our lives where we have more anger than we can handle. The world gives us more than we can handle, and oftentimes in the perfect suburban faith, we would ignore it, we'd stuff it. We wouldn't even go to therapy, or if we did, we wouldn't talk about real stuff. Today, I don't have answers for getting rid of the stuff that makes us angry. I don't have answers for the things that cause us suffering and pain. Nate says we need times where we lament. And lament is just a fancy way of saying express deep pain and suffering. So today, I don't have an answer to get rid of anger. It's not like you can do this to never experience it, or don't do that and never experience it. There are things in this world that cause us to be angry, that cause us pain and cause us suffering. And so today, instead of trying not to experience it, what if we stepped into that? What if when we have more anger than we can handle, we lean on God? What if when we have more pain and anger than we can handle, we grab our tennis racket and we go to God? So unfortunately, again, we often grab these verses that we treat like they are the cure, they are the prescription for not experiencing. That if we just had enough faith, we wouldn't get to this point. And that's not exactly what God is saying. See, Nate says in his book, he says that when what is our reality and what will be have little in common, we lament. So what is currently happening and what we desire, what we want and what is perfect, they don't match. They're really far apart. We experience pain and suffering, and that's when we show up to God's office with a tennis racket. The verse that makes me think of how we navigate lament, how we navigate anger and pain is Mark 4, 38 through 40. And unfortunately, this one is often used in a way that suggests that Jesus says, don't feel it. Don't you have enough faith to not have it? And it's not exactly what's going on here. Nate suggests in his book that if we want people to know Jesus, we have to do this world with them. We have to go to the places where the world gives us more than we can handle, just like Jesus does. And that's what I think this verse is saying. It says Jesus was sleeping at the back of the boat with his head on a cushion. The disciples woke him up shouting, "Teacher, don't you care that we're going to drown?" See, they were out fishing and a storm comes up. And just that first bit suggests that it's not the absence of storms where our faith shows up. It's in the middle of them. And it also doesn't say that Jesus is somewhere off on the shore or that he writes them a letter or sends them a text message. Jesus is in the boat. Jesus is saying, you're angry right now. You're scared right now. Bring that to me. And Jesus stands up and he rebukes the wind and the waves. He says, silence, be still, and suddenly everything goes away. That's the part that we often grab. And we think that if we, again, just ask, seek, knock, it all disappears. If we bring it to Jesus, if we have enough faith, all of the storms will go away. In this story, though, the storm was there first. The storm has to be there first in order for us to lean on Jesus, who's in the boat with us. And then Jesus says, he asked the disciples, why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? And oftentimes we interpret this as Jesus kind of giving the disciples a tongue lashing. You idiots, why don't you just trust me? And this is another one of those times where Jesus is going beyond the wind and the waves of the ocean that they're on, the sea that they're on. He's saying, you guys, it's way bigger than this. And I'm here with you in the midst of real life because there are times where life gives us more than we can handle. But it's not as simple as just come ask me and I will make it all go away. Although that happens in this scene in the boat, it's not always that easy and it's not always that perfect. And Jesus isn't suggesting that it is. Nate says that shielding ourselves from suffering and pain is a coping mechanism. Because the reality is the world is more than we can handle. This week, as you live out your faith, when you come to that place where your anger is more than you can handle, and you have to let it out, the places where there's pain and suffering and things don't make sense, where you're angry with God, where you're angry with people around you, where you just want to scream, bring your tennis racket to God. Don't necessarily ask for it to go away. Don't necessarily ask for no pain and suffering. Bring the pain and suffering to him. Bring your anger to him and let it out. Lean into God, not away from him.